Have you ever heard those stories about somebody who lived alone and they never wasted money and they hoarded money, and when they finally passed away, their long lost relatives came in and they were going through their estate and they said, "We don't know what he did with his money. We cannot for the life of us figure out where it went. We think that it may be buried in mason jars in the yard." That story has been told so many times. Back in 1880, there was a news article posted saying that there was a man that could no longer take care of himself. And the news article was petitioning someone to come forth and become his conservator, meaning take care of his estate and make his decisions. And the news article went on to say that the man's name was Josephus Dodd. Josephus, that's an old name. That's like an Amish name or something. But Josephus Dodd could no longer care for himself. And if you look at this map right here, if you look at this map, it says J. Dodd. That's Josephus Dodd. And if you look at the federal census, you can see Josephus Dodd. Well, Josephus had a wife and he had 4 kids. And this is it. This is his farm. We're here now. I heard a little blip here somewhere. See that? I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to find the house, but my first little blip that I found is a square nail. So yeah, that's him. That's Josephus Dodd. He was born in 1815. He died in 1885, and he lived here in 1870s. This is it. That's his house. Wow. Yeah. Ooh, it's a thing that I've dug before. I've dug this before. Yeah. Okay, this is good. This is real good. Let's look at it. So, what we have here is a piece of like a carriage that was hooked up to horses. And so this right here had a piece of wood in it, and this was like hooked up to chains, and then like it was like it was a wood bar. I think it's called an evener, and it was for horses and wagons and carriages. So there's a broken piece. Okay, all right. There's only 4 things that you can find in metal detecting. There's coins, there's jewelry, there's relics, and there's junk. Coins and jewelry can be relics if they're old enough. This is old enough, and what makes this like a great relic to me is like it's got a story. This has a worn out part on it where you can see where like the clasp part kind of wore through, and the chains probably pulled out, and it fell off, and it fell in the grass. Josephus Dodd, or one of his teenage sons, was out here plowing or working with the horses, and this piece finally wore through and it fell off, and their wagon or whatever started to turn sideways, and the chains were dragging on the ground, and Josephus or his sons probably said, whoa, something's wrong. And so they figured out that the piece fell off, and they were walking around out here on the field, and they were like, "You've got to be kidding me, this piece fell off, it's broken, I can't believe this." It probably got aggravated. I don't know if Josephus was cussing, because his father was a minister So I don't know if he did that. Maybe he was taught not to do that when he was younger, but so the dad's name was Dr. Stephen Dodd, and back in those days I think that doctors would just travel on horseback, and they had their own medicines that they just mixed up, and they would just go from house to house, and they would say, okay, what's wrong with you? Okay, here, drink some of this. And what's wrong with you? I don't know what this is, some kind of cast iron something or other. Looks like maybe like a pump well or something like that. But in any case, what could the doctor do? They traveled on horseback and they went to house, and if you had anything wrong with you, well, then they had a bottle of something for you. It's mostly just some like harsh narcotic probably, but maybe his dad maybe knew something about sanitation, health and sanitation, because get this, there was 16 kids in that family. 16 kids. How can you have 16 kids? And I don't think they were adopted. I think they literally had 16 kids. Josephus Dodd was one of them. And his mother died. And get this, the dad remarried and had 2 more kids. How do you have 18 kids? There's a verse in the old Jewish Torah and the Christian Old Testament that says something along the lines of, go forth and multiply. And a lot of people in this area, they did, like 18 times. I got a very nice high tone, and I thought, oh, this is it. It's a jar full of money from Josephus. But this is better. See, this is my favorite find. I absolutely love this, and this one is old. Wow, that is old. Look at that. All right, friends. This has got to be him. This is a huge, heavy axe. And if you look at right here, it's been worn away, it's been sharpened, it's been used to death, man. If you used an axe this much, you worked hard. I don't have a picture of him, but I do have a picture of his sister. And I have a picture of his daughter. And if you look at those two, maybe you can put together how he looked. Josephus was an American, which meant that he believed in life, liberty, and property. And back in those days, if you wanted life, liberty, and property, you needed one of these. And so, this has gotta be his. This is so old. I'm gonna clean it up later, but I'm pretty satisfied with this hunt because I found something that he most likely held in his hands. And he probably came out here and was chopping wood because he had 4 kids to provide for, and he had his wife whose name was Sarah. And he probably thought that he had it pretty good because he came from a family of, I don't know what, 16 kids, 14 kids, so many I've even forgot. And when you have that many kids in the family, I imagine that it was just like, here's a piece of bread and a cup of milk, and that's what you get. And if you don't want that, then you can starve. Found something good, really good, and it fits like the scene. Imagine like a farm, and there's a house right there, and there's a creek over there, and somebody came down here to the base of this hill. They were chopping some wood, and then they sat down and they did this. Look, it's a harmonica reed. Yeah. So anytime you find an axe and a harmonica reed, that's old. That's really old. I mean, people didn't have radios, or you had to travel a long way to get live music around here, so you made your own. That's like a piece of history. Like, that could have been one of the teenagers. One of the Dodd teenagers came out here and did that. Wow. Can you see that I'm on a hill? Somebody came right here. They sat down right here on this hill overlooking this valley with a creek in it. They reached into their overalls, they pulled out a harmonica, and they played as they looked out over the valley and the creek. They're probably taking a break from cutting wood. Then they put their harmonica back in their pocket, and they got up like this, and it fell out onto the ground. And we found it 100 and I don't know what years later. That happened right here. I just figured out why I didn't find jars full of coins. When he went into the ward, according to his paperwork, he had $700 cash, which was a lot for 1880s. So he wasn't a paranoid person that buried money in jars because he was scared that someone was gonna get it. He wasn't that person, but I was close. I was really close. That was a good story. Now, there's something about this axe, and I'm heating it up now in oil so it doesn't rust, that tells us a little bit about his character maybe. You see, the axe is sharpened just as thin as can be. I mean, he got this thing as sharp as you could get an axe in the 1800s, and he did that on a grinding stone. So that tells us that he was the type of person that paid attention to detail. If you're the type of person that pays attention to detail, having an axe that wasn't sharp enough would drive you crazy, especially if you did a lot of work. And so he had, I think, this attention to detail. The other relic that I found that's equally amazing is this harmonica reed. Now, finding a harmonica reed in metal detecting, that's nothing new. People find these all the time. However, it's where I found it. Picture this. There's a hill, and in the hill, there's a valley down there, a steep valley, and you could look out at the trees as you sit on the hill, and then there was a creek running through the bottom of it, and you could sit on that hill, look at the trees, and listen to the sound of rushing water. That's a great spot. And somebody went out there and played this harmonica. So it's not what I found, it's where I found it. Maybe that was their place of peace. Maybe it was their special place to get away from things. Or maybe it was just a nice view. In any case, where I found it is where you would sit to be alone and to have a good view and to play a harmonica. So that's what makes this right here priceless to me, because that's human, you know. There's humanness to this. It's not just a chunk of metal, just like there's humanness to this axe right here. So it was fun, interesting research, and I uncovered a lot of photos. I got a picture of his sister, and I have a picture of the person that took charge of his estate. And on the paper it says Oscar Bills, and I thought, who's Oscar Bills? Why I don't understand how Oscar Bills plays into this story. And then I found a marriage license. Oscar Bills, and this is his picture right here, was married to Vianne, I think her name, Vianne Dodd, which was the farmer's daughter. And so they took control of his estate. I also found that they went to court to do that, and there was actually a jury. And right here, this picture, these are the signatures of the jury. So that's pretty amazing. And then lastly, I found an itemized bill of when he was in the ward, and it shows that they bought him clothes, and they bought him a Bible, and they bought him castor oil and shoes, and they bought him stockings. I guess they didn't call them socks back then, but they bought him stockings. And then over and over and over again, every week, it says 25-cent tobacco, 25-cent tobacco, 25-cent tobacco, over and over again. So he smoked. He was a regular smoker. So it's interesting to find those little quirky things about somebody. So that was a hard trip. In the video, I had blood right here because I was walking through briars and I was walking through thick brush trying to find a trash pit so we could find more things about the family. So it looks like this axe is pretty well done. The water's pretty much been driven off of it. So let's pull it out and see what it looks like.